a 1 foot bigger shark, which I guess Meg did them better, and they made like a 75-foot shark. But, maybe Deep Blue Sea can... I have a theory. I feel like the Meg isn't a Meg. I feel like it was a shark created at Aquatica that escaped, and they didn't know about it. And so it hasn't been living for all these years. Oh, wait, I'm going to go back to this theory in a little bit. If you're watching, you'll just see the director walked by, and that's his cameo. And the funny thing is about it is he said that it took him 22 times to film him just walking by, which I kind of love. Oh, there's Stellan Skarsgård peeing in the wind. It's a great introduction. Actually, Stellan and Sam Jackson teamed up later for Marvel. But so Renny Harlin was talking about that, and he just couldn't walk right on screen. And I worked on a lot of film sets, and I call it the extra walk. It's where people walk totally normal, but when you yell action, they have this very weird walk. So just watch movies and watch the extras. They have a walk that isn't normal. I love that movie Annihilation. It's one of my favorite movies of this year. But in the beginning, when Natalie Portman is lecturing, watch the background in the school. There's too many people walking by, and they're all doing the extra walk. So Alex Garland handmade that film, but I feel like he kind of let down his guard with the extras in the background because they look very stock. Also in the movie Spy, there's a scene that Paul Feig, the director, hates where there's a long walking scene and there's a dude behind them walking with his hand in his pocket. It just looks really awkward and it takes you away from it. But going back to the movie, I'm just talking about extra walking. It's tough. For some reason, people just forget how to walk. But I love the introduction of Michael Rappaport here on his trailers. They're like, Michael Rappaport as Michael Rappaport. And Sam Jackson actually made fun of him a lot on this movie. He's like, he didn't understand. He was just saying that Rappaport didn't understand any of the technical jargon. He was complaining a lot. When he was turning knobs, he had no idea what he was doing. I just love good commentaries that take pot shots at other actors. And if you watch the Love Actually commentary, there's a a fantastic commentary where Hugh Grant disses Colin Firth the whole time. It's pretty brilliant. But yeah, this scene, they dropped it into the water, but then they're creating all this CGI. So this movie, even if you're not watching it, did a really good job of blending CGI with practical effects. So in these sets, I'm going to talk about this escalator later. In these sets, they were built on a water tank. So they had water on the sides, and they would put water jugs in the windows, and then above them, they would put water tanks. So that wasn't CGI water. So they really did a good job blending CGI with practical effects. And I think that makes for a great movie. Watch Jurassic Park, movies like that. They don't Mad Max Fury Road. They don't totally rely on CGI. Instead, they kind of blend the two. And I feel like this movie did a good job of that. So right now we're dealing with the evil scientist. She's doing some computery thingies on a 1999 computer. And she's just trying to get ahead of schedule. The problem is they're not. Stellan Skarsgård comes in here. I want some coffee. He's pouring some coffee. They're talking about how they won't be ready. I mean, this is obviously ominous. I do love the line, though, where she says you wait for something your entire life, and then it's tomorrow. But I guess just kind of sets up that they're just not ready. Something is going to go bad. I mean, what do they call it? Chekhov's gun. So now they're having like Chekhov's early shark testing, which is going to go horribly awry. And going to lead to sharks hurting people into sinking a place, which I kind of love. All right, so next, if you look at more of these sets, so this set right now that we're looking at, this is one of the main sets. This is where, Sam Jackson eats it later, or gets eaten later. But this one was built on top of a water tank, which I love. This water tank below them is about 35 feet of water. And so instead of actually flooding it, they just dropped it into it. So I kind of love that. I mean, I love that. Oh, it's just technically, I don't know. I wouldn't want to work on this movie because all the water would have been a pain in the butt. And also it was October and Pacific Ocean water was coming into this set. So it was freezing for everybody, which Renny Harlin talks about a lot. He said the actors complained a lot, but also there's another interesting tidbit. When you're watching this movie later on, you're going to see Thomas Jane slipping and sliding. And for many years, we were actually joking about how many times Thomas Jane falls in this movie. And the reason why is the people who built the sets put linoleum floors in, and they didn't think about the fact that they were going to be flooded. So the actors were running on these really slippery floors. So when you see people slipping and sliding, those are real slipping and sliding. Actually, there's a bunch of accidents in this movie. Later on, they get bombed by several actual waves that come in. I mean, they get smushed up against stuff. I mean, the actors, they seem like they had to deal with a lot. And if you ever watched it, the Dinner for Five, LL Cool J and the Chef, one of the best kitchen fights of all time coming up. So they were talking about it on Dinner for Five, which is a show that Jon Favreau hosted, and he have guests with him, and then they would just kind of hang out and talk movies and everything. They had Rappaport on and Saffron Burrows, and they didn't seem to really like this movie, which always bummed me out because I love this movie. Little tidbit about this parrot here. So right now we have LL Cool J, and in this scene, he's the chef, and he is hanging out with a parrot. The parrot is his friend. But what I like is Renny Harlin explained that they didn't have enough money for a Hollywood parrot, which would come with a couple people. The parrot knows how to act on cue, really well trained. The parrot knows exactly what it's doing. So they had to hire a parrot, a local parrot from Mexico. And they said it was just kind of a nightmare to work with this parrot, even though the parrot is really good. I mean, the parrot puts in some good work in this film, but they realized that they probably should have hired a Hollywood parrot because it would have saved them money because they spent so much time trying to film this Mexican parrot, which is kind of great. So if you're ever shooting a movie, you might want to spend the money on, a real acting parrot, a professional parrot. Save yourself some money in the long run. Here's a scene that, I don't know, people seem to kind of make fun of. You got the sharks coming up. Thomas Jane's coming out there to feed them. They feed these sharks. The bad CGI kind of happens. I'm not going to say it's the best looking CGI on the planet, but establishes that these sharks don't just get fed grouper. These sharks, they eat other sharks easily. And the other sharks that get fed to them are like, oh crap, this is terrible. So these are like super species of sharks. So I guess that's smart. Like, it makes more sense than the Mosasaurus being fed a shark, a great white shark, in Jurassic World. Because one, are you taking great white sharks from the ocean? I mean, can't you just feed them like a cow? Do you need a great white shark? I guess it has a comparison wise, that's fine. But I've always just felt bad. Are these great white sharks in Jurassic World clones? Because that would cost millions. But either way, I mean, it's highly irresponsible to be feeding great white sharks to genetically modified dinosaurs. I'm going off on a shark tangent here. Whatever. But they looked like they just caught this mako, and the shark that got eaten was actually a real jerk shark. It had a license plate in its mouth, and probably was up to some trouble. But right now we're watching the scene. It's a party scene. They're going to celebrate what's coming up. The problem was, this scene, they didn't really originally want to do it. So they had to, and they ended up with night shoots. And I don't know if you ever worked on a night shoot. You just work all night, sleep all day, go back at night, and do these shots. Hey, Finlandia. That's some nice product placement. So this scene, they said, just took a long time. And also night shoots, they just put you on a different world. I worked nights on a movie called Goosebumps, and you just lose all track of what's going on. So, it could be a worse location than filming all nights here. And also Samuel Jackson, it was cold, and Samuel Jackson was like, I got to keep my sweater on. So he was making fun of everybody in this movie. Also, he had nice words for LL Cool J. He said that he was actually out there, working his ass off to be a good actor. And I like LL. I mean, some people give him some crap, but I loved him in H2O. I thought he was really good in Any Given Sunday, In Too Deep. The dude's a good actor. All right, so right now we're moving on. We got Thomas Jane talking to Saffron Burrows. They're kind of complimenting each other. They maybe have a past. He's a criminal, though. He's just a shark wrangler. She's a scientist. So you have like a weird dynamic between them. But I don't know. I guess it establishes that, well, actually establishes that she's all work and she shoots him down. They had a nice little moment, but it gets bad. Now she's just kind of, they're talking about the sharks. They don't lose brain activity. They're the oldest creatures on the planet. I guess they're just using this scene for just a large expository dump, which is fine. I mean, you kind of have to get those out sometimes in a movie. If you listen to our Live Free or Die Hard podcast, they trusted Kevin Smith to deliver about, 13 pages of expository dialogue in the middle of the movie, just because they had to get it out. So, I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. This is a different location. You have some good looking shots. kind of makes sense because they're all together. You're not just kind of lumping people in together randomly. Also, you realize that they're breaking the Harvard Genetics Compact and the different policies. However, we learn later that they didn't have enough time, so Saffron Burrows did cheat. She did break the Harvard genetic rule, and she created these super smart sharks. And, I apologize earlier, I just learned that it was the Gen 1 shark that attacked the boat. So that Gen 1 shark definitely did that on purpose. And it definitely want to know how long it would take. So that's my theory. But now they're kind of doing more foreshadowing, bringing the shark out of the tank. It's going to be a problem. Obviously it is, but it leads to some pretty great moments that I love. I really like, there's a scene in this movie coming up where when Samuel L. Jackson walks into, they're just doing the dialogue here, so I'm going off on a tangent because we don't need to hear more about this. So Samuel L. Jackson, when you see him later on, when he walks into a room and he goes, wow. He said that's the greatest wow in the history of cinema. And I kind of love how he said it. Because when you have to walk, I guess as an actor, when you have to walk into a room with no dialogue and just say, wow, it's probably a really tough job to do. I'm a horrible actor. I couldn't pull it off. So when you watch this scene coming up, when Sam Jackson walks in and he says, wow, just remember that Samuel Jackson gave himself a lot of props for his wow, which I kind of love. Here's Michael Rappaport again. He lifted the fence because the sharks got out. That's the thing, though. The sharks get out, they lifted the fence. So these sharks realize that when it's a fully stocked facility, they can't really escape because there's so many more people. But since this storm is coming, the sharks know this, I'm pretty sure. They're like, we're going to sink this place. It works out pretty well that Sam Jackson shows up. But once they find that out, they're obviously listening to the conversations. Because I'm pretty I don't know. Send me a message. Do you think these sharks can understand English? Because I'm pretty sure they can if they can come up with this. But, right? Oh, there's a Mexican parrot. Man, that thing's good. I think it does good work. I don't know how long it took. Imagine having to act alongside a parrot. Or a blue screen. I don't know. That's all impressive regardless. So, we're kind of setting up the different locations in this. Everyone's getting ready for their night. Going around. Establishing the rooms. Doing all that. Aquatica in the morning. Take a look at that again. Oh, here's Michael Rappaport. He had no idea why he was turning these knobs. He was just told to do this. I kind of love that about it. So, we're getting ready for the big experiment, and the storm is coming in. What I do love is this scene, Thomas Jane's about to go down and catch one of the sharks. Just by himself. Piece of cake. And what I love is these sharks could just destroy him. But I guess they're choosing to get caught. So then it can bite the arm off somebody. And then the lady will let it go. And then it will catch that person later on, use that to break the window, and then herd them around. Like Rennie Harlan in the commentary was saying there's moments in these films where these sharks purposely don't kill people because they're trying to herd them into rooms to bring more water into them. I need to write an article breaking down every step of this thing. And once again, Michael Rappaport's punching a bunch of knobs. He has no idea what he's doing. So we got this movie going on. We got Thomas Jane swimming through the cages right here. Really nice shot. Also, Michael Rappaport was just looking at a green screen right there. So Samuel L. Jackson applauded his acting. He said he did pretty good work there. Let's see. So as we're coming up, we got him hunting through. Actually, all these cameras are going to be wiped out later by the sharks, who, that means they understand what cameras are. How smart did they make these sharks? Super, super, super smart. So they're all standing around. They're kind of looking at blank screens. Here goes TJ. And one of my favorite moments in this film, the shark comes up. They attack these, this is another smart idea to show this because it shows it can't get through these steel chains. They can't get through. They're flexible. They bend. Thus, they can't break. Oh, shark swims backwards. People make fun of this movie for the shark swimming backwards, but I don't know. Who cares? I mean, they're super smart and they understand to break down cameras. They're like if the Raptors from Jurassic Park